The chair recognizes Mr. Griffith for 5 minutes for questions.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I appreciate it. I do want to take a minute to correct the record. Drug manufacturing companies are, in fact, after CARES was passed in 2020, required to report volume as a part of the facility registration. Unfortunately, it's not happening. The FDA responded on May 9th, 2023, to a letter from the chair of the full committee, Ms. McMorris-Rogers, to you, Mr. Chairman, and myself as chairman of oversight, and said that only 44% of facilities are complying as of March 28th of this year. And as a part of this hearing, Mr. Chairman, if there's no objection, I would like to submit the full text of that letter dated May 9th, 2023 to the Committee on Energy and Commerce from U.S. FDA.
Seeing no objection?
Would the gentleman yield for a moment?
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, I want to thank you for raising this. This was as a result of my getting that into the CARES Act. So we have a dual interest on making sure it works.
Yeah,
Thank you.
And it's important to make sure that we're figuring out, as was said just a second ago, we've got to have the data to know where some of our problems may be developing on drug manufacturing. Dr. Inglesby, you testified previously, and as did Dr. Mary Dunnigan McCauley in front of the Oversight and Investigations Committee, where we were, or our subcommittee on challenges to investigating the origins of pandemics. When talking about pandemic preparedness, do you think a large focus should be on, or at least a focus should be on, ensuring our federal agencies provide proper oversight into research being done by foreign entities that are funded by U.S. taxpayer dollars?
I do. I think it's very important that they are in compliance with all of the rules and guidances that are issued by our own federal agencies. In particular, I have concerns about areas of research where viruses are being created that are more dangerous than those occur in nature. So absolutely, whether it's domestic researchers or any foreign institutions doing that work, really need to be governed very rigorously by HHS and with White House oversight.
And now I'm going to ask you the tough question and put you on the spot. And if the grantees for a federal agency doing research on viruses or other significant research that could be a pandemic, if something goes awry, if that grantee is not complying with the requirements of the grant, should we both cease giving our money to them and then keep them from getting any new grants until they comply with the requirements of the old grant?
I do think if it is determined that a grantee is doing work that is out of compliance with federal guidance, particularly on those issues, which are a particular high consequence and safety concerns, then I don't think they should continue to get funding until they are either in compliance, or if they can't be in compliance, then I don't think they should continue to receive funding.
Yeah, I agree with you. We're having a little spat right now with one of our agencies. All right. Previously mentioned that you came before the subcommittee that I chair on the pandemic issues, Dr. Dunnigan McCauley. Has GAO looked into what incentives are needed to bring more domestic manufacturing to the U.S. so that we're not reliant on foreign countries to produce certain items and ingredients, API particularly is what I'm looking at, and if so, what is needed to help bring more manufacturing to the United States?
We have, most certainly, and our most recent report was looking actually at advanced manufacturing. It's what FDA considers to hopefully be able to be faster and bring that manufacturing home and realize the cost benefits of it. And so we are watching that quite carefully. It doesn't work for all drugs, though, and we also don't know, as we talked about before, what APIs that we actually need to be manufactured here. We don't understand the sources of them all. So we continue our work in this area.
And it was interesting, and I just get your opinion on it. One of the witnesses in the hearing that I had previously this morning on drug shortages, with particularly talking about generics, opined that because we can't bring it all onshore in a short period of time, that we ought to focus on the top 40, and that we take actions to try to bring the top 40 back onshore so that we have those API being made in this country and those medicines being made in this country. And of course, then that opens up the possibilities that they have, as long as they're doing one line, they might do two lines, and it may be more than just the top 40. But what do you think of taking a look at focusing on those top 40 most popular generic medications and trying to bring those back as a starter?
Well, I know that we do have a national supply chain strategy that's put in place, and we have taken a look at some of the supply issues that they've had, and if it's implemented successfully, we feel that it will help with bringing that domestic manufacturing home. I will say, though, that we do have concerns. For example, saline was in short supply after Hurricane Maria and Irma, so it's just because we bring it home, we still can't put all our eggs in one basket. So, but yes, looking at what's the most critical, prioritizing, and then making a plan for how we can bring that onshore, close to shore would be good.
And I know I'm over, Mr. Chairman, but I would just say I have to agree with not putting all of our eggs in one basket, because what we should do is we should have 2 or 3 sites across the country on something that's used daily, like saline. I yield back.